Guys got the back. Open it up for questions.
How much has free throw shooting been an emphasis for y'all this past week and really the whole season? And it seems like it really paid dividends tonight down the stretch.
Thanks. I do think that we do an above-average job of getting fouled. I think we're probably top 35 in the country in getting fouled, top 35 in not fouling. We haven't been quite as consistent as you need to be when you have to score the way we need points. We haven't emphasized it any different than we have from the beginning of practice. Our free throw shooting is kind of maybe what you would call a drill or a game. It lasts 2 minutes. It's what I've done my whole career. I learned it from an old school coach. It's a very efficient use of time, and it gains some traction with our guys that translates to the game. It's called 6, 7, 8. You have to make 6 in a row, then make 7 in a row, then make 8 in a row in a 2-minute span, and there's consequences to not doing that. So anytime you may hear our kids from the bench hollering 6, 7, 8, it's because that's the free throw drill game that we do throughout each practice.
JJ mentioned it's been a while since you guys have gotten a win. How big was this one? Just to get
I think it was November the 20th the last time we won, wasn't it? Well, that's a long time, maybe not in the world you live in, but in this world it's an eternity. So very thankful. I thought in many respects it was the same test that we had against Fairfield. I thought our second half adjustments were important. I think our guys carried out those instructions. I think we did a much better job. Number one, had 6 threes in the first half, only 1 in the second half. We stayed out of rotation, which was much better. Number one wasn't deriving his catch-shoot shots because the guy guarding him did something wrong. It was because we didn't guard the bounce. And so we were getting beat off the bounce, which forced rotation, which led to long closeout threes by 1. We did a better job of not getting in rotation in the second half.
It seemed like after the last game you were kind of challenged Emmanuel to keep with that same level of production after he had the 14 rebounds, and he at least countered it on the offensive side tonight.
Yeah, obviously in the last 2 weeks, in the last 2 games, he and Nebo have established a distinct role, a role that we are dependent on. Without what those guys did, 33 points and 19 rebounds, very efficient. I think that's the most points that a freshman scored here in a while, and last week was the most rebounds a freshman had in a while. Encouraged for sure by both of those guys. We need to somehow figure out how we can keep those guys trending in that direction and then find some other guys to establish those types of roles relative to their responsibilities.
It's a close game against a non-Power 5 team, but you look at turnovers and offensive rebounds, and it seems like things are trending upward.
Better for sure. 0 turnovers at the first media timeout, and then make subs, and we had 5 turnovers from the first media timeout to the second media timeout. We had 5 turnovers. Get the first group back in, and we have 2 turnovers the rest of the half. And then in the second half, only 5 turnovers. Slower game than normal, but it was the first time that we had an OER above 1.0, which is good. Some of that is because we're having a presence on the offensive glass and scoring. Some of that is getting fouled, and some of that is we didn't give the other team the ball. So we got a shot attempt. So regardless of competition, I understand that. I'm being respectful to Coach Wilson and to Corpus Christi. I understand that it's going to change dramatically. But I'm also thankful, without sounding like a coach, I'm also thankful that we passed this test. And maybe we can garner some level of traction in preparation for Oregon State, who's very unique in how they play.
Was it telling you anything about your guys when you are down 11 and y'all been struggling, and you get down 11, and then not only were y'all able to come back and tie and win, but you are able to answer baskets, not going into drought?
Yeah, it's I have the utmost respect for the character of who our kids are and how their parents raised them. We are challenged almost in every regard. And in their defense, they're trying to do what we're asking them to do. And they try every day. There's no drama on the floor. There's no drama in the locker room. The intent of their heart is 1,000% in the direction that it should be. I say that probably, maybe, I think I mentioned that to you the other day. I say it every second day, every third day. I think they're aware of the challenges. I think they're willing to try to change. I think change is hard no matter who you are. They're trying to change. We're asking a lot of them. But regardless of our ability to execute, there's never a question of if they're trying to do what we're asking. I think we were down 11, and then if you take away the gimme basket on the last shot, we outscored them by 16 over the last 16 minutes. We scored 39 points in the second half. I'm not saying that's a good number, but through 9 games, we're excited. We're excited.
I know Wendell Mitchell had a little less of a role today. Was that?
And was the most positive guy on the bench from start to finish. Said that to him 3 times in the locker room. I could hear his voice the whole time. And I think I've said it publicly. I for sure said it privately to our team. The intent of his heart, 1,000%, is for Texas A&M. In that stretch of 5 turnovers, he had 2 of them. And then in the second half, because we're down 11 and because we're not turning it over, he didn't even play. In the whole second half, he's the most positive guy. Again, it just speaks to how he was raised. He's a guy that I want to play. And entering tonight's game, I think he had played more minutes than anybody else. I want to play him. But at some point, we got to quit turning the ball over. And at some point, we've got to get more opportunities at the rim. And E-Man has given us more opportunities along with what Nebo has done. And so that move saved full time to the perimeter, except for the few minutes that E-Man hasn't played the last 2 games. And so there's less minutes on the perimeter. But as far as his spirit and who he is and what he's about, the utmost respect.
Anything else for Coach?
You have 2 more games until you hit the conference play.
Yeah.
Do you like where everything is at heading into that last 2 games? What needs to be the focus the last 2 games and to get y'all ready for that challenge?
It will just for sure be a challenge. Probably as large a challenge as I have faced in my career, except for year number 1 at Virginia Tech. I think our concentration level since Fairfield, over the last 2 weeks, from Fairfield to Texas, from Texas to Corpus Christi, I think how we've utilized their time, what we've done in the film room, what we've done on the floor. I thought at Texas, I thought there was more togetherness. I thought we played harder. I thought tonight, down 11, I didn't feel like guys were trying to back up. I thought they were trying to run towards the fight. I'm encouraged by that. Turnover rate has somewhat improved today versus last Sunday. I don't know how to say it as a coach, but if there's a lot of holes in the boat, sometimes you're not sure which ones you need to plug up first. But turnover rate has been an issue throughout the season thus far. Offensive rebounding percentage on both ends has been a concern. And that has been largely our focus over the last 2 weeks, but for sure within this past week. I thought we did, maybe I already said that, I thought we did a lot of good things against Texas. Got beat by 10, held them to 41%, out-rebounded them. But we turned the ball over 33% of the time, and 9 of their baskets out of their 23 baskets came off 0 or 1 passes. We're not good enough to overcome that, and not many teams are. And I understand today it was a different game relative to the level of talent, and we didn't do great at certain times, but I do think that we have made it a priority in regards to every single thing that we do in practice and trying to be creative in how we address turnover rate and offensive rebounding percentage.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.